This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
This is Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
Hey, Burleson, you're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
I'm NorbCam, and this video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell for future videos. Now, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. This time, breaking down the Seahawks-Broncos opening day matchup here at Lumen Field. And to do this, to help me do this, I got a special guest from the other side, from Broncos country. Let's ride. I've got an expert here who's going to talk a little bit and share some information about behind enemy lines, what to expect in this Seahawks-Broncos matchup. We've got Ben of Sports Talk Denver joining the show. Ben, how you doing?
I'm good, man, but we don't say let's ride anymore. We say we believe. We are past Russell Wilson. We are on to the Bo Nix era, my man.
I had to do it because I haven't had a chance to say that, because ever since we beat you guys a couple of years ago in an opening game here in Seattle, I haven't really had a chance to collaborate with a Denver fan. So I had to get that out there. It was a mandatory thing.
We've just stopped returning your calls after you beat us in the Super Bowl, fleeced us with Russ, beat us opening week. We just, anytime that area code pops up, we hit ignore.
Well, you didn't ignore me this time because here we are chatting. So I'm glad you had the cojones to come on here and talk about it. Actually, it's a pretty exciting year for both teams. You know, a lot of changes, right? Obviously, you guys went through the Russell Wilson era, a couple of coaching changes since. We will talk about this matchup, but I do, since you brought it up, I got to ask you about your take on the entire Russell Wilson scenario and kind of what your expectations were before you arrived, and just how you saw it from a Broncos fan. What was that like for you? You know, take me from the emotions of how it started as it was happening and how it ended.
Oh my goodness, I might cry on here. So I was home at lunch. I got to jet home on lunch and eat lunch with my son when they made the announcement that we got Russ. And my memory of him was when he beat us in the Super Bowl and thinking that he was a top 10 player, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And so I was with my son. We were dancing around the kitchen screaming like, Russell Wilson is our quarterback. And I bought his jersey in orange, his jersey in white, bought his jersey in orange for my son. And to come out that next year and have him win 5 games was just, it was awful. And a lot of that was Nathaniel Hackett just honestly being an absolute clown show of a coach. And Sean Payton has said as much, that like last year when he started, he said that was the worst coaching job he's ever seen in NFL history. And he had a lot of rocks thrown at him. And so then we had high hopes like, hey, if anyone can fix Russell Wilson and get him back to how he looked with y'all, it was going to be Nathaniel Hackett. And while we won 3 more games, at the end of the day, it was just so clear that Russell Wilson couldn't run the system that Sean Payton really wants, which is all about like hitting people as he schemes them up. He builds plays of like, hey, this one's in the middle so that the next one on the outside's open. And Russ thrives in the 2-minute when it's kind of just, hey, buy some time and go chuck it deep. And that worked really well with him, when he was on his rookie contract with you. But when he was the highest paid player and you couldn't build the talent around him, your Super Bowl roster was just loaded for bear with talent on both sides of the ball. And so when Russ was the top paid player, that just couldn't happen. So then it was really, really dark days in Denver. And it was a hard time to be a fan, but it really does feel like we're past it. We ate the bulk of his cap hit this year, and we have a little bit next year still, which is absolutely wild to me. But I think brighter days are on the horizon for sure.
The irony is with Sean Payton, it's believed that Russ actually wanted Pete Carroll fired and bringing in Sean Payton while he was still in Seattle. That's something I've learned to be more true. I thought that was complete nonsense. I think there was more reality to that. So when he got Sean Payton, I thought, oh, okay, well, if it doesn't work with the man he wanted to be under in Seattle, where else is it going to work under? And we clearly saw that he did better, right? He played better in the second year under, but it just wasn't enough, at least not enough for Sean Payton to feel worth trying to keep the experiment going.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, so before we jump into this matchup, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. How did you become a Broncos fan? And tell everybody where they can find you as well.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I didn't start loving football till I was in middle school, and the first year I loved football was 1997, and I kept every front page of the Denver Post, and the Denver Broncos rattled off back-to-back Super Bowl championships, and I think the Seattle Seahawks were in our division then. I feel like I remember that. Yeah, so it was, Elway and McCaffrey and Rod Smith, and like that was the team that actually started my football love off for sure. And so since then, I've just lived and breathed and consumed more Broncos content than anything else, and I just love them, man. I do Sports Talk Denver on YouTube. I just started around Halloween, and up at like 13,000 subscribers, but that's the only platform I'm doing now, and just trying to pick one lane and go hard in it.
That's amazing. So you've grown it quick to go to 13,000 subs, only starting not even a year ago.
Yeah, I honestly think
That's
it's
amazing.
like, I think it really is so correlated with how the Broncos are doing, and like that low point, and now it really is just the belief in Broncos country. Like I think if I'd started this in the Nathaniel Hackett era, I'd be at just my mom as my only subscriber. But I think everyone really does believe and sees brighter days ahead.
We'll talk about that. So share some of that optimism as a Broncos fan. Why are you so excited about the Broncos in 2024? What's give us Seattle fans an insight as to what's so special about this team in your opinion?
Yeah, so the word is young and hungry, and we had all these. We went from being one of the older teams in football to now we're one of the younger teams, and we've moved on with some fan favorites like Justin Simmons, Russell Wilson, Tim Patrick, all these guys that we've all loved, and we've replaced them with talent that I think has equal the potential. They just haven't actualized it yet, and so I think it's just that young and hungry Sean Payton stamped team. And you just see Sean Payton not doing anything to squash our hopes in Denver. I think it'd be really easy. We mentioned when you hopped over on my channel that Mike McDonald or Pete Carroll did a good job of like answering questions without really answering them. And that's like Sean Payton to a T. Like he does that all the time, but he doesn't do that when people bring up wins and losses. So when they said, hey, they predict you to win 5 games, he said, well, I have 2 middle fingers, but I've learned to not use them in my old age. And then he went on a New York Times article and said, if I win 6 games next year, it'll be my first time doing that. Like he's never won less than 7 games. Last year with a quarterback who couldn't run his system, with a tight end who was injured the entire year, which is one of the most important positions for his offense. We won 8 games. And we were in the playoff hunt all the way to the end. We beat the Chiefs. We beat the Bills on the road. We beat a playoff team, Browns, who were hot, the Vikings. Like we beat some tough teams, and I just think we're going to be a lot better than our over/under suggests at 5.5.
So talk about your young new quarterback from Oregon, Bo Nix. Obviously, you got your shirt there, Believe. Is that something you made yourself, or is everybody wearing Believe shirts all over?
I'd like to think they all are, but I made it myself. A couple of the big outlets have done way cooler looking Believe things than I have. But I just hopped on Canva and did it, man. But yeah, the thing was the draft happened, and I want to pick your brain on Geno too, because as we were talking about where different quarterbacks were going to go, a lot of people are saying Seattle might be in the market for one of these first-round quarterbacks. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too in a second. But as that came, we had pick number 12, and Bo Nix was the last of the first-round quarterbacks taken. And there were a lot of people inside of Broncos country who were discouraged by that and like, oh, we got the 6th best quarterback in the league. And since the draft has happened, we have found out that Sean Payton, before the draft happened, told tons of people that he knew at throw number 16 of Nix's pro day that he was the perfect fit for his system and that was his guy. So our owner, who happens to be the richest owner in sports and is invested in our team immensely in some really cool ways, creating brand new positions, stealing David Shaw, who should probably be a head coach, to be like one of our player talent evaluating scouts. And he's just created all these new talent evaluation roles that don't exist on other teams. So that's another bright spot. But our owner came out and said that Sean Payton walked out of his pro day and called our owner immediately and said, I want him. He called his friend Jake Glazer, who is a journalist, and said, I want to fly out during the draft and knock on Bo Nix's door when the pick is up and walk in and say, you're our guy. So, and then he came out and said he baited the Minnesota Vikings into moving up and get JJ. He called the Las Vegas Raiders and said, hey, we're thinking about trading back so that the Raiders wouldn't be baited into trading up to try to get Bo Nix. And so Bo Nix is the most accurate quarterback in the history of college football. He's had 61 starts. He puts the ball where it needs to be. He certainly is not Mahomes or Josh Allen when it comes to arm strength or athleticism, but he's the perfect system quarterback. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. Like Sean Payton's offense will be take 4 yards every single play, and you're getting first downs all the time. And so you're seeing a lot of dinking and dunking, and you're seeing schemes that get guys open at 4 yards. And I think that's just going to be amazing for a ball control offense. Like, it's not fun on Madden to play like that, and it's got to be infuriating. But it really similar to what the Broncos or what the Nuggets have in Jokic. That sure, having Anthony Edwards who does sick dunks or LeBron James is more exciting than a Nikola Jokic, but Nikola Jokic like puts the ball where it needs to be and is the best passer in basketball, and it brought us a championship. So I think the same hope is that Bo Nix does that for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with Bo Nix just because I'm a Husky fan, and we played him a couple times in some very exciting, tight games that went right down to the wire. Like we're talking about a missed field goal being the difference, and some other games that went down to the final few seconds. And my take on it was there was a lot of discussion about the Seahawks. If a quarterback were to fall to them, and it's crazy what happened in the whole quarterback situation because everybody suddenly. When the Falcons took Penix, because I thought maybe Penix would drop to us, and I thought, it'd be fun to see. Are they going to make a move? Penix would be an option. Nix would be an option, and then Atlanta just kind of blew the whole thing wide open. But yeah, what I remember about Nix though, is besides everything you said, is that he's a gritty guy. I remember thinking that guy's tough. If he's got to run for yards too, he's pretty scrappy, and is not afraid to take the ball and run with it as well. So maybe not Russell Wilson 2012-ish, but still is not afraid to go down the field and carry the ball and get the first down himself if he can't himself throw it down the field. So I just remember being a really gritty guy. That's probably gritty is the word that really kind of came to mind when I thought about Bo Nix from the time with Oregon. On the defense, talk to me about what's the strength for Geno Smith and company when they face the Broncos. What are we going to have to face on the other side?
Yeah, so obviously I think we have the best corner in all of football, and he and Metcalf have already had some, really famous battles, and I think Metcalf's a top 5 wideout and is phenomenal, but I think Surtain has held his own, and so that's probably a wash right there. I feel really, really confident in our edge rushers that we don't have a Myles Garrett or a Crosby or something like that, but we have 4 guys who are deep. We just drafted a rookie out of Utah, Ellis, whose dad played in the NFL. He's got 2 brothers in the NFL, and he just popped during training camp, and none of us were expecting anything from him this year. And now it's like, you throw him as our 4th edge rusher, and we're in really good shape there. And then we have Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, who are incredible outside linebackers as well. And the thing that, as people are predicting Broncos defense this year, we are the 31st or 32nd ranked defense in the entire NFL right now. But that's based on using analytics and ChatGPT based on last year, where we let in consecutive weeks the Washington Commanders scored 40 points on us, and then the Miami Dolphins score 70 points on us. Well, after that happened, we got Baron Browning back, and we cut Randy Gregory and Frank Clark. And from that moment on, our defense was actually a top 10 defense on PFF and by all DVOA measures. And so I think our defense is in a really good place now, anchored by one of the best corners in football. I think the question marks, you mentioned how there's some question marks because of injuries at your linebacker. We lost our other middle linebacker, our inside linebacker, Josie Jewell. He is now playing for the Carolina Panthers. And so I think we replaced him with a former Seahawk in Barton is his last name, Cody Barton.
Cody Barton.
So, I mean, you probably could say what his ceiling is better than me. So far, he's looked pretty adequate just in training camp. But what did y'all think of him? Obviously, if you let him go and you already have linebacker concerns, maybe I shouldn't be as high on him as I am.
Well, I mean, Cody Barton has been fine. He was a guy that he never really started any games. If he did, I don't recall it, and maybe came in if somebody was injured. But he was always kind of a backup / special teams guy. Great special teams guy, but never really an every down linebacker type. He never really filled that role. So he's not the kind of guy that would scare me looking on the other side. But again, so much of it
because he's starting on Sunday for us. So
and again, so much of it too is the scheme, right? Because sometimes one scheme is better that maximizes one skill set versus another that leaves someone hanging to dry because they're just not really meant to thrive in that. So, but yeah, I mean, he's fine. He's just definitely not in the top tier level of linebackers, but he's just fine. And
I'll take.
I'm not disappointed that he's filling in there because it sounds like he has lost a piece when that injury happened.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's talk specifics about this game here. You asked me the same thing on my interview with you, so I'll turn the tables on you as well. So for the Broncos to come into Seattle and defeat the Seattle Seahawks, the Broncos have to do what?
Stop the run. I think that was our biggest weakness last year on defense was stopping the run. And we, that Dolphins game when they hung 70 on us, it was like, man, they were getting 7 yards a carry, and that just opened up so much. I think Geno is decent, and he definitely outperformed what I thought he could do. But if you're forcing Geno to throw the ball with our edge rushers and y'all facing some injuries on the offensive line, if we can bottle up Kenneth Walker and watching him at Michigan State all those years and just seeing how horrible Michigan State was when he left, I think I would grab him on my fantasy league in a heartbeat because I think the ceiling is so high for Kenneth Walker. So if the Denver Broncos can shut down the Seattle Seahawks rushing game, I think we come out with a victory.
And what's your biggest concern when it comes to Seattle facing you guys and you're going, oh man, I sure hope they don't take advantage of what is that concern on your end?
I mean, gosh, there's so many. I think our middle linebacker worried about that. We lost our starting center, very similar to you, and so we've kind of had a camp battle. And so if you can get pressure up the middle, that scares me a lot as well. And I think Bo Nix needs a clean pocket to develop and not have his hopes and dreams crushed right off the bat. And so I think we really need to shore up that pass game as well.
Well, and I think Byron Murphy, our first pick in this year's draft, I am so excited to see because they haven't really played him much. They've been pretty conservative on his play, but I'm hoping he will do exactly what you're afraid of because he's the kind of guy who can eat up double teams, get pressure off the middle, something we haven't been able to do in a long time. So if he can do what I'm hoping he can do, that'll make things very tough and take advantage of one of those potential weaknesses on your side of the football. All right, we'll see what happens there. But let's go to score prediction. Obviously, you don't like the way the line is moving. What's it at now? 5.5 points? Is that where we're at?
6 now, which is
6
disrespectful.
points.
I feel like this is all your fault, Norb.
Hey, man, I got nothing to do with that. Or do I? So if you don't like the spread or you think Vegas has got the numbers wrong, here's what you do. Go to BetUS.com. Once you get your account set up and get your deposit in there, find the game that you want. If you like the Seahawks, you click on it, you go to your bet, you put in your money like $50. It shows how much you're going to make if you win. And if you don't like the odds and you want to put some money down on the opponent, just click on those odds on the opponent there, put the amount that you want to wager. It shows how much you'll make if you win. Simple as that. And if you sign up now, BetUS will match 125% of your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. So you get to play with house money. Doesn't get much better than that. Just remember to please gamble responsibly. What do you think, guys? You don't believe in the line. What is your score prediction for this?
The Denver Broncos are going to go into Seattle and they are going to avenge our prior 2 losses to you. And the Denver Broncos are going to come out with a 28-24 victory. That is a cold hard fact.
Oh, cold hard.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I don't like that number 28-24 because that just brings up PTSD from Super Bowl 49. So I don't like that very much, which is 10 years coming up It's 10 years from that game, by the way. It's going to be Super Bowl 59 this year. It's going to be 10 years since the Russell Wilson interception game, which is hard to believe.
Hand the ball to Marshawn, you know?
Oh, man.
Just hand it off.
If I had $1 for every time somebody told me that, I'd be... But, we'll never be able to forget that. But, a little side fact, we play the Patriots again in week 2. And, since that horrible memory PTSD game, we have never lost to the Patriots. We haven't played them that much, but we have won every single game that we've played them.
You'll
And hopefully
destroy them this year. Absolutely.
I sure hope so. But back to your question, what's my take on this game? I'm feeling confident in the team. Despite our weaknesses, I feel like the offensive schemes, the defensive schemes that Coach McDonald's going to implement, we haven't even seen all season, I think is going to be just a little bit too much for young Bo Nix coming into a hostile first game here where the fans are frustrated at the Mariners. They are desperate to start making some noise, have something to cheer about, and this is going to be that game, and Seattle wins it in comfortable fashion, 24-13. That is not a cold hard fact. That's just the truth.
Unsubscribe right now. If you're watching this, just...
Yeah. Speaking of unsubscribing, where can people unsubscribe to you?
No. They can go subscribe. SportsTalk Denver. Yeah.
Just that, SportsTalk Denver. Less than a year and going from starting to 13,000 subscribers. That's very impressive, man. You're off to a great start. So, well, we'll see. Let the best team win, and we'll find out. I don't know, we might have to do a post collab and see what went wrong or what went right and break the
As long as
down.
we win, I'll hop on anytime, but I'm a very sore loser. So.
Oh, yeah, well, I feel the same way. All right, well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Ben, thanks for joining. And, we'll see what happens on the first game of the year, 2024. Let's go, baby. Go Hawks.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Please gamble responsibly.